Astonished Millionaire discovered his hidden past when he encountered his pregnant ex-wife Servi. Mark Connors, the self-made millionaire with a view of the Chicago skyline, had it all, or so people thought. He controlled a powerhouse company, threw extravagant charity events, and seemingly embodied success. Yet, beneath the polished exterior, a hollow ache thrummed through his life, a reminder of the love and simplicity he had once cherished. As vibrant autumn leaves danced outside his glass office, he found himself clutching his chest at the thought of everything he had left behind. One crisp morning, while sipping coffee at a familiar cafe, a voice pierced his reverie. It was Sarah, his ex-wife, standing there with a slight tremor in her hand and an unmistakable glow that left him breathless. The years had changed them both, but the tension between them felt electric. "Mark," she said, "I'm pregnant." The words dropped like stones, rippling through the surface of his life and bringing memories crashing back. Images of midnight drives, laughter-filled evenings, and the dreams they once shared swirled around him like autumn leaves caught in a whirlwind. Mark's heart raced, a mix of panic and a longing he thought he had buried. He wanted to wrap his arms around her, to protect her and the child they never had the chance to raise together, but doubts tangled with his emotions. Memories of bitter arguments and the desperation of their separation clawed at his mind, keeping him captive. Still, the flicker of hope shone, urging him to step forward, to take responsibility for what was about to enter the world, but each time he reached out, Sarah responded with guarded eyes and harsh words, building walls Mark had no tools to break down. "You don't know anything about my life now," she snapped, her defenses erected higher with each gentle offer he made. He felt the weight of his success press down on him, suffocating any chance of connection. The lavish dinners, expensive suits, they felt like chains now, binding him to a man he no longer recognized. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now, let's continue. As the days blurred together, Mark couldn't shake the sense of impending disaster. A swirling storm of rumors began to surface about him, whispers of shady dealings, suspect contracts that threatened the empire he'd built. The very foundation of his success was crumbling under the weight of scrutiny. What kind of father could he be if he was nothing but a fraud? Mark's thoughts spiraled as he prepared for an upcoming community meeting. It was an event he once dominated, but this time he felt exposed, raw, like a man standing naked in front of familiar faces who had lauded him as a hero. Questions hung heavy in the air as they stared at him. Was he the man they thought he was, or had he become a hollow shell? With Sarah's future and their unborn child hanging in the balance, Mark faced the reckoning of his life. Could he confront his failures and redefine his existence, or would he remain a prisoner of his past choices? Heart pounding, he stepped onto the stage, a man torn between his ambition and the need for redemption. What came next was uncertain, but it loomed over him like a storm, begging for resolution. The moment Mark stepped onto the stage, he could feel the weight of 1,000 eyes on him, like an invisible force pressing down on his shoulders. The air felt thick, and for a heartbeat, he thought he might falter. But then, he caught a glimmer of hope amidst the apprehension. Somewhere in the back of his mind, that flicker ignited a determination he didn't know he still had. He leaned into the microphone, breathing in the familiar scent of polished wood and sweat. "Thank you all for coming," he said, his voice wavering slightly. He could see the faces before him, some supportive, others skeptical. His heart raced as memories of laughter and applause flooded back, reminding him of the confidence he once exuded. "I know times are tough," he continued, "and I am here to be honest with you." As he spoke, Mark's mind was a whirlwind. He thought of Sarah, of the life they shared and the one that now awaited them. For the first time, he allowed the truth to form in his chest, a painful but vital beacon. "I want to share something with you all," he began, his tone growing stronger with each word. I may have built a business empire, but it's been built on shaky ground. He paused, letting that sink in as whispers began to flow from the crowd. People shifted expectantly in their seats, and he felt the rise and fall of their attentions wavering. There are rumors, he admitted, about questionable contracts. And I can't pretend they don't bother me. Because they do. Mark's hands shook slightly as he spoke, but he pressed on, facing his fears. The truth is, I've lost sight of what matters. I've chased success, and in doing so, I've hurt those closest to me. His eyes drifted to the back of the room where he remembered Sarah sitting. The uncertain look on her face lit a fire in him that burned away doubt. I can't change the past, he said, feeling his voice break, but I can change who I am moving forward. The room fell utterly silent, and he dared to look at the faces again. I want to right my wrongs, not just for myself, but for my child. He felt a rush of raw emotion as he concluded, for Sarah and the future we might create together. The crowd shifted, some reached for their phones while others exchanged glances. Underneath his revelation, he felt the swarm of judgment, but more importantly, a sense of understanding began to fill the air. Little by little, the murmurs of their skepticism began to quiet, but just as Mark felt the tide changing, a voice sliced through the silence. What do you plan to do about it, Mark? It was an audience member, her arms crossed, skepticism dripping from her words. How can we trust you? A knot of uncertainty twisted in his stomach. He wasn't ready for this, not this moment. Every part of him wanted to retreat, to leave the spotlight and disappear. But he caught another flash of Sarah's face, the determination under her hurt. I promise to rebuild not just my business, but my life. I will come clean about every wrong turn I've made, he asserted, trying to ground himself, and as he spoke, something unexpected happened. From behind him, the sound of applause began to rise. It was faint at first, almost hesitant, but then it grew, a wave of warmth washing over him. Was this acceptance? Hope? It flooded his senses, pressing against the raw nerve of fear he had encountered moments earlier. As the clapping grew louder, Mark felt himself shift. For the first time in years, he was surrounded by a community ready to listen, to allow him a glimmer of understanding. But as the echoes of applause began to fade, a weighty thought loomed in his mind. What if he truly failed? What if Sarah couldn't forgive him? With uncertain steps, he caught Sarah's glance. The question in her eyes was clear: could he be the man she needed? As he stepped off the stage, the roar of the crowd faded. The enormity of his promise settled on his shoulders like a heavy cloak. The moment of truth had arrived, and with it, the fragile hope for redemption. But was it enough to change everything? In the shadow of his past, echoes whispered of challenges to come. Mark stepped through the backstage door, feeling the chaos of the crowd morph into silence behind him. His heart was still racing, but a new spark ignited within. He could feel his palms sweaty, and his throat dry, but there was no turning back now. He knew he had to confront the aftermath of his confession. As he walked past the familiar props and faded backdrops of his past productions, he caught a glimpse of Sarah waiting near the exit. She stood there, arms crossed and brow furrowed, a mixture of hope and doubt dancing across her features. It hit him like a punch to the gut. All those moments of neglect flashed before him, and he struggled to breathe. Mark, she began, her voice cautious as she stepped closer. What you said out there, it was brave. Thank you, he murmured, adjusting his collar. He wanted to reach out to her, to pull her into an embrace, but the weight of their situation held him back. Those words lingered between them like an unfinished sentence. Brave, she echoed softly, but words are just words unless you follow through. Her eyes flickered with a mixture of concern and challenge, and he couldn't blame her. She had every right to question his intentions. Mark nodded slowly, swallowing the lump in his throat. I know I have a long way to go. I can't expect you to trust me overnight. Silence enveloped them for a moment, thick as the fog that rolled in during autumn. Finally, Sarah broke it. It's not just about trust, Mark. It's about your actions. This isn't just about you anymore, there's a kid to think about. He felt the punch of her words. A child. His child. Reality settled in like a stone on his chest. I've been selfish, he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. But I want to be better. For you. For our child. At that moment, her expression softened, and a flicker of something vulnerable broke through her guarded demeanor. I want that too, but how do you plan to make this work? A fair question, and he was grateful she had asked it instead of burying him in accusations. First, he said carefully, I'll come clean to my team and clients. No more hiding. I'll confront those questionable contracts and do right by the people I've let down. He leaned forward, desperate for her to see the sincerity in his eyes. I don't want to run away from this anymore. Sarah looked away for a moment, lost in thought. He could see her weighing his words against years of hurt and disappointment. Finally, she met his gaze again. And after that? And after that, he said, I want to enroll in parenting classes. I want to understand how to be a father. I don't want to repeat my mistakes. I want to be part of our child's life. Really part of it. The moment hung between them, thick with emotion. Mark felt the rush of hope tempered with fear. Was he truly ready to commit to this new path? Was he willing to change everything he once valued for the chance of earning Sarah's trust again? Well, if you're serious, she said slowly, her voice wavering, I guess we can start somewhere. But it's going to take more than just words, Mark. It's going to take work. I'm ready, he assured her, the determination swelling in his chest. I'll do whatever it takes. As they exchanged cautious smiles, a glimmer of hope shone through the cracks of their past. Yet, even as that hope blossomed, Mark couldn't shake the thought of what lay ahead. What obstacles would stand in his way? Would the temptation of his old ways loom over him like a specter? Just as he was about to reach for Sarah's hand, a figure stepped into view, an old associate, eyes glazed with uncertainty. Mark? The man called, tension taut in his voice. We need to talk. It's urgent. It's about the contracts and something else. And just like that, the hope began to wane. What now? What new challenges awaited him as he fought to reclaim his life? Mark's heart sank as he turned to face the messenger. The urgency in the man's voice sent a chill down his spine. What do you mean? He asked, his stomach twisting. They found discrepancies in the financial reports, the associate explained, his brow furrowed with worry. Contracts that could put your entire company at risk. We need to act before this goes public. The weight of the situation crashed onto Mark like a tidal wave. He had just committed to change his life, and now it felt like the ground was crumbling beneath him again. He glanced back at Sarah, whose expression had shifted to one of confusion and concern. Discrepancies? What types? Mark questioned, feeling his pulse quicken. He could almost hear the ticking clock of his chances with Sarah and their unborn child fading with every second. They're serious, Mark. If we don't address this, it could become a legal nightmare. We can't let it come to that, the associate replied, glancing nervously at Sarah, then back to Mark, taking a deep breath. Mark nodded. Okay. Let us schedule a meeting with the legal team. We need to get to the bottom of this. But I also need to talk to Sarah first. The associate hesitated, clearly torn. This is your business on the line, Mark. We need your focus. I'll focus, but I can't do this without Sarah knowing what is happening, he insisted, his tone firm. He felt a flicker of determination surge within him. He was fighting not just for his company, but for a chance at redemption with Sarah and their child. Reluctantly, the associate stepped back, giving the couple space. Mark turned to Sarah, trying to read the emotions swirling in her eyes. I'm sorry. I thought I was finally turning a corner, but it's overwhelming. What did you get yourself into, Mark? She asked, her voice a whisper. The hurt in her eyes was a physical reminder of every moment he let her down. I didn't know, he said, frustration creeping into his voice. I thought I was in control. This wasn't supposed to be part of the future I was fighting for. Sarah stepped closer, her hand resting on her hips, balancing between anger and something softer. You might be fighting for a future, but it feels like your past is creeping in to ruin it. Why can't you just be honest about everything? It is honesty. I swear I'm trying to make things right. But I've been avoiding the past for so long, and now it's catching up with me, he confessed, the weight of his words pressing heavily in the air. She studied him, searching for signs of the man she once knew. Did you ever think that facing your past could help you move forward? Mark's heart raced with the possibility of that truth. I thought it was buried. If I can fix the contracts and face the consequences, maybe I'll finally earn your trust and be the father I want to be. For a moment, silence enveloped them, the flickering tension of their words hanging in the air. Mark could see her internal battle reflected in her eyes. Trust can't come back overnight, Mark. You have to want it as much as I want it. For our child's sake, Sarah said, her voice trembling but resolute. His heart sank at the familiar ache of disappointment, but he nodded, feeling the resolve to fight not just for his company or for Sarah but for the family they could become. I will do what it takes. Not just for myself, but for us. Then good luck. You're going to need it, because we can't have you slipping back into old habits. I just don't know how much more I can take, she said, her voice breaking slightly. Mark reached for her hand, desperate for connection. This isn't the end, Sarah. I can promise you that. Just then, the associate cleared his throat. Sorry, but we really should get to that meeting now, Mark. As Mark glanced between Sarah and the associate, he felt a wave of uncertainty. Would this meeting push him closer to change or deeper into the shadows of his past? With his heart thundering in his chest, he walked away, glancing back at Sarah one last time. Would she still be there waiting for him once the dust settled? The room grew quiet as he stepped through the backstage door again. He knew he stood on the cusp of everything he once avoided. The pressure was mounting, and with every choice he made, he felt the stakes getting higher. What would be revealed when he finally faced the truth of his past? Mark paced the dim hallway, the shadows swallowing him as he moved toward the conference room. Each step felt heavier than the last. The associate's anxiety crept into him like a lingering chill. He was about to face a storm, and the rumbling of his own heart was the only thing grounding him. Inside the conference room, the atmosphere was tense. Papers scattered across the table, a few grim faces peering at him, their concern palpable. Mark took a seat, willing himself to focus. Let us get started, he said, his voice slightly shaking. As they went through the reports, figures and contracts danced in front of his eyes. He struggled to keep pace but couldn't help feeling a knot tightening in his stomach. Discrepancies meant something went wrong, and he had a sinking feeling it could all come back to past decisions. Decisions he thought he had moved beyond. There's a pattern here, one of the lawyers stated, pushing up his glasses. It looks like someone manipulated these figures to make them look favorable, but we need to find out who. The room buzzed with speculation, whispers of betrayal floating around him like smoke. Mark's mind flickered back to old faces, former partners, sleepless nights filled with bad choices. How had he failed to see the signs of this potential disaster lurking in his rearview mirror? Mark? A voice broke through his thoughts. It was the associate again, his brow furrowed deeper. Are you even listening? This is serious. Yeah, I'm here, Mark replied, his focus rattled. What's the next step? We need to get ahead of this. Document everything, reach out to the finance team, and we should consider a full internal audit, the lawyer insisted. Mark swallowed hard. This wasn't just about money anymore, it was about his integrity, his family, and the future he had promised Sarah. He felt like a jigsaw puzzle with missing pieces, the picture of his life starting to lose its shape. As the meeting progressed, Mark's mind began to wander again. He pictured Sarah's expression, the mix of anger and hurt when he hinted at his struggles. Could he fix this before it broke them apart entirely? The ticking clock of his life moved relentlessly forward, but he felt paralyzed, teetering on the edge of losing everything he held dear. Finally, after what felt like hours, the meeting wrapped up. Everyone filed out, but Mark remained seated, collecting his thoughts. His phone buzzed impatiently in his pocket. Mark. He looked up to see the associate coming back, worry etched on his face. You need to know, if we don't act fast, things could spiral out of control. You need to strategize how to confront this and your past. His past. Those two words echoed hauntingly. A sudden memory swept over him, a conversation with a distant friend who had once hinted at unfinished business. He had pushed it away, believing he could bury it. But now, that very shadow threatened everything he wanted. Mark's heart raced as he recalled that friend's warning. Sometimes you can't move forward carrying old guilt. It'll crush you in the end. With a sense of urgency, Mark bolted from the conference room, the walls of the building feeling smaller as he sprinted toward the parking lot. His thoughts spiraled around Sarah and their baby. Was he truly ready to confront the demons that lurked in his past? Outside, the crisp air bit at his face. Would revealing the truth draw Sarah closer or drive her further away? Stepping into his car, he was overtaken by anxiety but also a flicker of determination. He would show them. He would prove to Sarah that he could fight. But that resolve was quickly cut short by a sudden realization. Who else could be involved in this mess? He needed to dig deeper, but would that involve risking everything he had? As he clenched the steering wheel tight, he couldn't shake the feeling that unearthing the truth might lead him to a tipping point. What if he found out something about his own past that could shatter the already fragile world he was trying to rebuild? He turned the key in the ignition. The engine roared to life, but his heart raced even faster. The road ahead was uncertain, and he knew that with every twist and turn, he was inching closer not just to answers, but to a confrontation that could change everything. His phone buzzed again, pulling him back to the storm brewing just ahead. It was a message from Sarah. Mark, can we talk? I need to know what's happening. Could he finally be honest with her? More importantly, would he be ready to face the truth about himself? Mark's hands trembled slightly as he read Sarah's message for the third time. The knots in his stomach pulled tighter. He couldn't put it off any longer. There was no escaping the collision course he had set for himself. With a deep breath, he called her back. Hey, it's me. His voice was steadier than he felt. Mark. Her tone was measured, almost guarded. You sounded off earlier. Is everything okay? I've got some things to explain, but first, how are you? It was a weak diversion, a feeble attempt to break the tension, but her silence hung between them like a heavy curtain. Can we just meet? It's easier in person. Sure. I'll be there soon. As he hung up, the gravity of the conversation loomed over him, and in that moment, he felt small and lost. He drove, each mile feeling like a chasm widening between them. If he wanted to salvage what they had, he needed to come clean not just about work, but about everything he had hidden. Regrets clawed at him, memories surfacing like ghosts refusing to stay buried. Every stoplight seemed to stretch, mocking him with delays. His mind raced with every possibility of how Sarah might react. Would she believe him? Would she hate him for what he had kept from her? A combination of dread and hope churned in his chest. Finally, he arrived at their favorite cafe, a cozy place with warm lighting and rich coffee scents that used to make him feel at home. Today, it felt cold and foreign. As he stepped inside, he spotted Sarah tucked into a back booth. She looked up, her expression tight, and he was struck by how much he wanted to reach out and hold her, to comfort her through the uncertainty that enveloped them both. Mark. She gestured for him to sit, her eyes searching him. "Talk to me." He forced a smile, but it felt strained. "I've been looking into the financial discrepancies at work." "I know," she said quietly. "You have to be careful. This could get really complicated." He nodded. "But that's not all. There's something else, something from my past. It's coming back to haunt me." Her brows knitted together, concern etched on her face. "Like what? What do you mean?" "About my old partners, the decisions I made and a mistake I haven't dealt with." It felt like a lead weight lodging in his throat. He took a moment, steeling himself. "Sarah, I had an ex, someone I didn't think would impact my life again, but now I suspect he paused, grappling with the words. Would saying the truth out loud make it real? Suspect what? Please, just tell me. She might be involved in this mess. The words hung there, heavy, and he could see the realization wash over her. I was trying to outrun my past, but it's caught up to me. I'm scared, and I don't want it to affect you or our baby. Her expression softened, but confusion lingered in her eyes. Why didn't you tell me sooner? I thought I could keep it away from you, protect you. But I see now how wrong that was. Guilt clawed at him, tearing into his conscience. I should have been honest from the start. A long silence hung between them, heavy with unspoken words. He wanted her to understand, to feel the weight he carried. But could she? Would she still want him after this revelation? Mark, I need to know what else you're hiding, she finally said softly. I'm not hiding anything else. But I'm terrified that looking into this will bring up more than I bargained for, not just for us, but for everything I thought I had put behind me. Tears glimmered in her eyes. I'm scared too. What would they do next? Would they tackle this together, or would this drive a wedge deep into their fragile rebuilding? The stakes were rising, and he could feel the tide turning against them. Just then, his phone buzzed on the table, a sharp reminder of their looming crisis. He picked it up, glancing at the screen, feeling the blood drain from his face. Another message, this time from an unknown number. We need to talk. It's about your ex. His heart raced, and dread washed over him. What had he stepped into? Mark's mind raced with the implications of that message. It felt like a punch in the gut. He glanced at Sarah, whose eyes mirrored a growing alarm. He didn't want to show how much it shook him, but he couldn't hide the tremble in his hands. What is it? Sarah prompted, her voice low, laced with concern. Just a message, he said, trying to keep his tone casual, but it came out strained. From who? An unknown number, he replied, hardly meeting her gaze. They said they want to talk about my ex. Your ex? Sarah's expression shifted, a mixture of trepidation and frustration. Is this about the mess you were just talking about? What if they know something? I don't know, Mark admitted, feeling his world tilt. But I have to find out. If she's involved, we need to know. Wait. You're not going to reach out to them right now, are you? Sarah's voice rose slightly, a hint of panic surfacing. You don't know who it is. This could be dangerous. I know, he said quickly, but if it's related to the discrepancies at work, if it's her, I can't just ignore it. I have to protect you. I have to fix this. Her eyes softened slightly, but doubt still lingered. Mark, talking to strangers about your past could open doors you can't close. We have enough on our plate. I understand. I can't allow my past to unravel everything we've built. I thought I could handle it alone, but I need you by my side. As her gaze held his, a flicker of understanding sparked. Okay, but promise me you won't act too hastily. We need a plan. Together. He nodded, relief flooding his chest. Together, then. A brief silence engulfed them before Sarah broke it. So, what do we do? Do you want to reply? He hesitated, running a hand over his face. I need to think it through. But first, he said, shifting gears in his mind, let us talk more about your feelings. You mentioned you were scared. I can't ignore that too. Sarah bit her lip, the tension returning. I guess I feel powerless. You're in this situation and I can't do much about it. All I can do is wait, and that kills me. Waiting is tough, Mark said, reaching out for her hand. But I don't want you to feel that way. You mean the world to me. You and the baby are the only reasons I keep moving forward. For a fleeting moment, he saw the worry lift from her brow as she squeezed his hand back. Yet, it didn't last long, her expression soon clouded again. What if this past catches up to us? What if it blows everything apart? She whispered. That's a risk I'm willing to take, as long as we face it together, he said, determination settling over him. They exchanged a resolute glance, a silent vow solidifying between them. Before they could delve deeper, Mark's phone buzzed again. The screen lit up with another message from the unknown number. His heart drummed in his chest, the adrenaline skyrocketing. What does it say? Sarah asked, her voice barely a whisper. Hold on, he replied, glancing down at the text. It says, I know what happened. Meet me tonight. There's more you need to understand. An icy chill ran down Mark's spine. Again, dread washed over him. What more could this person tell him? And what would it mean for them? Mark, Sarah's voice quivered, are you really considering meeting them? It doesn't feel safe. He took a deep breath, weighing his options. What choice did he have? The shadows of his past were closing in. I need to know. We need to understand what we're dealing with. Just be careful. Please, she urged, panic swelling in her eyes. Trust me, he replied, though uncertainty gnawed at him. If he walked into the unknown tonight, would they come out unscathed on the other side? There was no turning back now. But what awaited him in the depths of his past? The door to uncertainty creaked open, and Mark knew the future lay on the line. The hours dragged on as the sun sank lower in the sky, painting the horizon in shades of crimson and indigo. Mark sat at the kitchen table, the message still glowing on his phone, a beacon of temptation and fear. Sarah busied herself nearby, pretending to organize the clutter that seemed to multiply by the minute. But the tension was palpable, weighted by the looming conversation they had to have. Are you sure about this? Sarah finally asked, her voice breaking the silence, filled with a mix of anxiety and frustration. She leaned against the counter, arms crossed, an island of doubt amidst their shared resolve. Mark looked up, meeting her gaze directly. I can't keep living in this fear. This isn't just about me anymore. It's about us. About the baby. He glanced at the stack of baby books she had started to collect. Each one represented a future he desperately wanted to protect. I just don't want you to put yourself in danger, she said softly, her tone more pleading than accusatory. Don't forget why we're doing all of this. You can take your time. He could see the worry etched deep into her face. This was no longer one moment in a long life, it was a pivotal crossroads. But he also felt a sense of urgency rising, a burning need to confront the ghosts that had haunted him for too long. Tonight could be our chance to clear everything. To find out what this person knows. I can't just bury my head in the sand. It's not who I am, he replied, his voice steadier now, fueled by a mixture of resolve and fleeting desperation. Mark, listen. Sarah stepped closer, her voice dropping to a whisper. What if they want something from you, something that could hurt us? You don't owe this person anything. If they know about your past, it might be better to just leave it in the past. But the past had already seeped into their present, and Mark's sense of responsibility pushed him onward. It was a weight he couldn't ignore. If this stranger held secrets about his ex that could unravel everything they had fought for, he had to know. "Okay," he said abruptly, as if answering his own unasked question. "I'll meet them, but you're right. I have to approach this cautiously." She nodded, visibly relieved, and he could see her shoulders relax a bit. "Just, keep your phone with you. Call me if things feel off." They shared a moment, their hands gripping each other tightly, a promise in that contact. Even amid the tension, there was love, a tether that connected them. But Mark felt the bite of doubt still lingering in the corners of his mind. What if this meeting changed everything? As the clock ticked closer to his rendezvous, he decided to take a short walk to clear his head. The evening air was crisp, invigorating against his skin, and he tried to match his breathing to the soft rustle of leaves around him. But his thoughts were a whirlwind, replaying moments from his past, whispers of choices he made, regrets that shaped him. What did this mysterious person want? Did they come as a friend or foe? If his ex was a part of this, how much did she know? Lost in thought, he barely noticed the streetlights flicker on as dusk enveloped him. Just as he made a mental note to head back, his phone buzzed again. This time, it was a new message: "You have only an hour before I leave. Don't be late." Panic surged through him again. An hour? He looked at the time. He had to hurry. "Mark." Sarah called from the porch when he returned, her face a mixture of concern and determination. "I have to go," he said, urgency flooding his tone. "Wait. What if no? I can't think of scenarios. I have to do this. It's now or never." He leaned in, planting a quick kiss on her forehead. As he turned to leave, he felt the weight of uncertainty brush against him like a shadow. What if he walked into a trap? With each step toward that meeting place, the world around him blurred, and a knot formed in his stomach. Whatever awaited him there, he hoped the answers would be the key to releasing the grip of his past. But as he rounded the last corner, a chilling thought struck him: what if understanding only led to more pain? The venue loomed before him, shrouded in darkness, as he took a deep breath and pushed the heavy door open. Inside, the air felt thick with secrets, and the future hung in the balance. Could he face the truth waiting for him inside, or would it shatter everything they had fought to build? The dimly lit room echoed with the sound of his own heartbeat. Mark scanned the narrow space, each shadow morphing into a familiar face as anxiety gripped him. The faint smell of whiskey mingled with musty leather, filling the air as patrons murmured over drinks at the bar. He felt out of place, an outsider about to confront a part of his life he barely recognized anymore. Movement caught his eye. A figure sat at the far corner, half hidden in the gloom. Mark squinted, his breath hitching when he recognized the unmistakable profile: Eric. Someone he once called a friend. But now that friendship felt like an ominous wave crashing over him. The darkness seemed to clutch at the edges of his memory, dragging him back to the decisions he thought were long buried. Eric looked up as he approached, his expression unreadable under the soft glow of a nearby lamp. "Mark," he said, voice smooth but shrouded in an unsettling calm. "I wasn't sure you'd come." "Cut to the chase, Eric," Mark replied, his voice firmer than he felt. "What do you want from me?" The corners of Eric's mouth twisted into an uneasy smirk. "Always the direct one, huh? That's why we used to get along so well." He leaned back in his chair, crossing his arms, feigning nonchalance. "I'm here because I think you deserve to know the truth." "The truth?" Mark echoed, the word feeling heavy in his mouth. "About what?" "About your ex," Eric stated flatly. The way he spoke left a chill hovering between them. "What you thought you knew might not be the whole story." Every muscle in Mark's body tensed. He glanced towards the bar, half expecting Sarah to be there, her eyes locked on him, searching for answers. But this wasn't the moment to think about her. It was time to confront the shadows that plagued his past. "I don't want to play games, Eric. Just tell me what you know," Mark urged, his patience whittling away with every second. Eric sighed, leaning forward, the tension radiating from him. Your ex. She's not who you think she is. There are things about her you've never understood, things I didn't mention before. She's involved in something dangerous. And it's coming back to haunt you. Mark's heart raced. The weight of Eric's words pressed down on him like a lead blanket. What do you mean dangerous? But before Eric could answer, a sharp laugh broke through their conversation. Across the room, a woman stood, vibrant and confident within the hazy atmosphere, a sharp contrast to the foreboding threat Mark felt creeping in. She was familiar, too familiar. His insides twisted, realizing that it was Sarah, and she was staring directly at him, a mixture of confusion and hurt playing across her face. Mark! She called out suddenly, cutting through the tension like a knife. I didn't think I'd find you here. Desperation clawed at him as he caught her gaze. Everything felt like it was spiraling out of control. Sarah, wait. It's not what it looks like, Mark started, but his words felt feeble as he met her eyes. Is it? Eric interjected, his tone dripping with sarcasm. And how much do you really know about what's happening in your life, Mark? About what or who you're protecting? Reality ceased to exist in those moments. Mark stood on a precipice, between the quiet love he held for Sarah and the chaotic web of lies woven around his past. It became a bitter struggle, uncertain of which side would pull him down deeper. Mark, please. Sarah's voice was urgent, desperate for his attention. What is going on? She pressed, stepping closer. I don't know, he stammered, feeling the ground shift beneath him. But what he's saying, I'm saying it's time to wake up, buddy, Eric interrupted, a predatory gleam in his eye. The truth always finds a way to surface. Just like your little not-so-innocent ex. And if you don't want that truth to affect your family, maybe it's time to find out exactly how deep this goes. The stakes were rising, and Mark felt the noose of his past tighten around his throat. With the truth looming and Sarah's gaze pleading, he braced himself for a revelation that could shatter the life they were building together. Could he navigate this storm, or would the truth be the very thing that broke them apart forever? As Mark stood there, torn and anxious, he realized the real test was just beginning. What was he willing to sacrifice to protect what he loved most? Mark stood frozen, every heartbeat echoing in his ears. The stakes had never felt higher as Eric's words hung ominously in the air. His past was crashing back like a tidal wave, threatening to sweep away the stability he had just begun to build with Sarah. Each glance between her and the shadow of his past felt like a rope fraying, threads of trust pulling taut. Mark. Sarah's voice cut through the chaos, urgency mixed with despair. What's happening? I don't know, he managed, his throat tight, trying to find certainty in the storm swirling inside him. I came here for answers. Answers? Eric interjected, a sly smile playing on his lips. Or more questions? You really think you're ready for what's coming? Mark looked at Sarah, whose expression shifted from confusion to hurt. The moment felt suspended, fear mingling with a desperate need for connection. Whatever Eric was here to say, it was clear he intended to use it against him. He took a breath, Steve's voice still echoing in his mind. If I don't confront this, my past might consume me. And I won't let that happen to us. Enough of this. Mark shouted, surprising himself as the words escaped. Sarah deserves the truth. Whatever you think you know, I need to hear it. He stepped closer to Eric, a rush of adrenaline fueling his determination. He wouldn't let fear chain him any longer. The dim light flickered as Eric leaned in, dropping his voice. Your ex. She got into some deep waters while you were off in your glittering high-rise world. She's wrapped up with people who play for keeps, dangerous people. If you're not careful, they'll drag you down with her. Mark swallowed hard, the weight of Eric's words piercing through him. Could Sarah's past really threaten their future? Was this all connected to the discrepancies he unearthed? Mark, Sarah said softly, concern deepening in her eyes. What does he mean? Is this true? Sarah. He hesitated, then took her hands in his, feeling the warmth and strength of her presence grounding him. It may be I didn't want any of this. I thought I was moving on, burying it all so we could have a life together. Burying it is what gets you into trouble. Eric leaned back, arms crossed, giving a slight chuckle. But now it looks messy for you, doesn't it? Your nice little world isn't as tidy as you thought. Stop. Mark's voice was razor sharp. I came here to stop running, to face whatever it is I need to face. But I won't let you manipulate this situation. Manipulative? Just delivering the facts here, Eric replied, feigning innocence, but the tension in his body spoke louder than words. All I'm saying is if you want to keep that pretty little family intact, you better start digging. There's a lot behind her smile. No. Sarah interjected, stepping closer to Mark. You don't know what you're talking about. Her voice trembled slightly, but there was strength woven into her words. Mark, let us leave. We don't need this. Not now, but Mark felt the urgency swell within him. We can't walk away without answering these questions. Sarah, please, if there is something I need to know, I need to hear it now. The decision felt monumental, everything hung in the balance. You really think you know how this works? Eric smirked. You'll risk everything for answers? For her? The decision is yours, but I sure wouldn't. Then let us talk then, Mark said firmly, but I need one thing from you. If I hear something that puts Sarah in danger, you'll regret it. Whatever demons you think you're playing at will come back for you, too. As the weight of the room thickened once more, silence clung to them, tangible and heavy. Touché, Eric said with an air of mischief, a flicker of intrigue in his eyes. You've got guts, I'll give you that. Maybe you're not as lost as I thought. He leaned back, gesturing for Mark to take a seat. But before Mark could respond, Sarah grabbed his arm, pulling him closer. Mark, I need you to promise me you won't put yourself in any more danger. We've come too far to undo all of this. I promise, he said softly, looking deep into her eyes, wanting nothing more than to shield her from this chaos. He could feel their child nestled between them, a fragile tether of hope among the storm. Smart choice, Eric chimed in. Let us get to the bottom of things, shall we? Just know, once this goes down, there's no going back. As they settled, Mark steeled himself for whatever truths lay ahead. If this was the beginning of understanding not just his past but his potential for a future, he wouldn't back down. With Sarah by his side, they would light the path together, confronting every dark corner and revealing every hidden shadow. Before you say something you might regret, Mark spoke again, addressing Eric, just remember who you're dealing with. Time stretched as the truths unraveled, the very fabric of their lives beginning to shift. Each revelation carried weight, and for every secret unearthed, hope flickered brighter, the promise of a life reclaimed. Finally, Mark flipped the narrative. Let us confront this chaos. But first, he directed to Eric, tell me everything. The storm had arrived, but for Mark, it wouldn't just mean destruction. It would mean clarity. This was the moment of reckoning they desperately needed together. And with that resolve, they would emerge anew. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. This is the moment to show your support. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Your engagement makes all the difference. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. And don't wait not even one more second. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your true support can make all the difference.